Hey, TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. So yeah, I just tried to go live again on TikTok, because they allowed me to do that, um, after verifying I was 18 with less than 1,000 viewers. But then there were other things that were added to it that you had to do in order to get the full benefits of a live. So in order, before you could invite guests up, you need to do over 3 days of live for at least 30 minutes in total. Uh, Now, of course, I didn't know anything about this, so I've just been online to find out if this is true from TikTok, that they have changed their live requirements. And it seems it is true, they have. They've changed their live requirements. You don't need 1,000 followers anymore to go live on TikTok. This is true. But there was nothing, absolutely nothing in there about having restrictions upon your life and having to unlock them by jumping through more hoops. There was, as I say, definitely a requirement to be 18. It didn't actually specify that you would have to prove that you were 18. There was nothing of that said in there. It just said you needed to be 18. Didn't say nothing about proving it. But it did say that, you didn't need 1,000 followers anymore to go live. But as I say, once you've gone live, there was nothing there that said you would need to do various other things that I'm having to do before you get all of the live things unlocked. So I can only assume that this is a special requirement just for moi. So of course, I don't mind. I'll play along with your silly games. TikTok, TikTok, TikTok. Yeah, let's play along with your silly games. Um, as I say, it was but it gives me a chance just to do this now quickly. Um, the two wills of Jesus. Um, we only have one will. Obviously, when we get married, we have children, things like that, we occasionally will submit to doing their will rather than our will. So, for instance, your wife might say to you, "Oh, let's go to the ballet," when you want to go to the pub. And you will, of course, do your wife's will and go to the ballet rather than your own will and go to the pub. But of course, this doesn't mean that you've got two separate wills. You've still only got one will. You're just, agreeing to do what she wants to do rather than what you want to do. And of course, 99% of the time, with your one will, you will do what you will to do, not what other people will you to do. And that will happen more often than not. But as say, when we read in the Bible, Jesus Christ, especially when he said to the Father, not my will, but your will. And that's Mark 14:36, Luke 22:47, as well as other places in the Bible, that you can read that. Um, Clearly, Jesus had two wills, because of course there are many other passages in the Bible that speaks of Jesus doing the will of his Father and not his own will. He was sent to do the will of his Father, not his own will. And as I say, many other verses in there that state about his will and the Father's will, clearly proving Jesus Christ had two wills, his human will and his divine will. And of course, a lot of times Muslims will pick out his human will and quite rightly ignore his divine will. But of course, you can't do that, and of course, we have proof of that more often than not as well in the Bible when we read the Bible, correctly, that, obviously his will was the same as the Father's anyway. His divine will was the same as the Father's anyway. John 8:29-29. So Jesus said, when you will have lifted up the Son of Man, then you will know that I am he, and that I do nothing on my own, but speak just what the Father has taught me. The one who sent me is with me. He has not left me alone, for I always do what pleases him. You see? So clearly he's he's teaching each and every one of us, not to rely on our own human will, but to rely on God's divine will, really, which is different from our will anyway. John 14:6-10. I am the way, the truth, and the life. No one comes to the Father except through me. If you really knew me, you will know my Father as well. From now on, you do know him and have seen him. As I say, how can Jesus not have both wills if he keeps on stating that he wishes to do the will of his Father? He needs to know what that will is. You cannot do, the will of somebody else unless you know what their will is. And so clearly Jesus knew the will of his Father, because that was his will as well. It wasn't a different will, it was the same will. John 17, the famous prayer, from verse 20. My prayer is not for them alone. I pray also for those who believe in me through their message, that all of them may be one, Father, just as you are in me and I am in you. May they also be in us, so that the world may believe that you have sent me. Again, clearly emphasizing that the wills are the same of the Son and the Father. The divine will is the same. It's not different. Many other passages emphasize this in the Bible. Hebrews chapter 1, verses 1, 2 and 3. In the past, God spoke to our ancestors through the prophets many times and in various ways. But in these last days, he has spoken to us by his Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, and through whom also he made the universe. The Son is the radiance of God's glory and the exact representation of his being, sustaining all things by his powerful word. After he had provided purification for sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty in heaven. Colossians 1:15. The Son is the image of the invisible God, the firstborn over all creation. Clearly, he's got the will of his Father. We read it over and over so many times in the scriptures. Matthew 11:27. At that time, Jesus said, I praise you, Father, Lord of heaven and earth. All things have been committed to me by my Father. No one knows the Son except the Father, and no one knows the Father except the Son, and those to whom the Son chooses to reveal him. Again, clearly stating, that they've got to have the same will in order to know one another. So clearly, when Jesus Christ talks about not doing his will, but doing the Father's will, he's clearly defining, and putting a clear definition on those two separate wills. He doesn't have one will like we have. We only have one human will. That's it. And even when we do someone else's will other than our own, we still only have one will. Jesus Christ clearly had two wills, and it's clearly defined in these passages and very many more. His human will and his divine will, and he clearly chose to do the Father's divine will, which was also his own divine will, over and above his human will, something that we all must do. God bless you. Peace of Christ to you.